Hi Megan, and happy Sunday. I know that you weren't particularly in love with the video that you posted last week, but I actually really liked it. I thought it was super cool. I still am definitely going to have some questions to ask you because some of the stuff of your advice still does require like a certain broad knowledge of artists and listening that I want more insight in, I guess, as to how you reach your tendrils out. But that said, I really liked your video. So I thought, because there wasn't an explicit theme of music or whatnot, I would just give you some advice for your last month of thesising, because it's a difficult time and I know what you're going through, and so I figured I'd say some things. You can use them if you want. You can be like, nah, Maura, that's freaking stupid. If you want, it's all good. I have also enlisted some help from a dear friend of ours, Lillian Singer, and so that will be a nice little treat. I actually think that I'm going to start and end with Lillian's suggestion, so this is number 1 from good old Lillian, and excuse me, it's off screen, so I'm gonna have to read it if you don't mind. The old folk story of King Solomon's ring, found here, I guess I'll insert a link, has endured in the Jewish faith for many reasons, but is remembered for gifting us one particularly sage nugget. A thing in Hebrew, this too shall pass. While many first interpret it to mean, don't let life's knocks get you down, it is also meant to remind us to cherish the good times, for those are just as fleeting. How poignant and charming, you might be thinking, but what I really mean is, you need to drink when and while you can and prepare for the worst. Fuck personal hygiene, fuck your interpersonal relationships, fuck any quality of life you know. Deep down, you deserve. Your days of writing this paper shall pass, and senior year shall pass. Sorry, but your thesis lives on forever in the annals of SWEM, and you get monthly reports emailed to you about how many suckers have stumbled upon it. That's actually true. Time passes, but moves only in one direction. Number 2, if you don't already have all of your citations in order and managed, you should do it now. I know that you kind of feel like, no, gotta write, dude, I gotta, get this done and keep working, but I guarantee you, you will be happier with yourself if you do it now. For several reasons. 1, it is something productive to do that doesn't involve writing, and so if you're feeling a little stuck with a little bit of writer's block, do that, because you'll be like, no, I'm still working on my thesis, even though you're like, I'm not really working on your thesis, but you freaking are, because you do not want to have to be cleaning up your citations in the final hours, I swear to you. Leave some time to revise. Now you might be thinking, Maura, I literally saw you manically writing the last bits of your paper less than an hour until the deadline last year. Don't be a freaking hypocrite. To which I would say, touche, kind of. All I wrote in that last bit of time last semester was the final conclusion that I was rewriting a few times. The bulk of my paper, the meat of the argument, was done 3 weeks before or 2 weeks before, I don't remember, and I had time to go through and, pick through some things, edit some things, and having that done also makes writing the introduction and conclusion again, or for the first time, much easier, because you have said your argument, you have some time to think about it, and then you're able to frame it in the exact way that you want, that you only have once you're done. So, try and aim for being done at least a week early with the bulk of your argument so that you can have time to sit on it and really think about that and revise. Don't worry if you get some ideas or stumble upon some resources in the last minutes that kind of change everything for you, and you're like, how did I not think about this before? Or how did I not see this until now? I could have used this months ago, and sort of feel upset with yourself for either deciding to stay on the course that you have been and not change based on these things that you would like to incorporate, or last minute incorporate them and feel like they're changing a lot and you wish that you had had them earlier. Don't worry about that at all. If you find stuff and you want to incorporate, do. Some of my best ideas have come at the literal beginning of the research process when I have basically no idea what's happening, and also at the very, very end where I feel like I should actually know everything that's happening, but something comes along to totally shift my perspective. If something like that happens, just go with the flow and like incorporate it or not, it'll totally be fine. I know that your advisor situation is not as nice as mine was, but I would say have at least 2 to 3 meetings with him before it's due, making sure that what you're putting out is fitting with his idea for what you should be putting out, and also that he has an idea of all of the framework that you're using, all of the arguments that you're making, and the ways that you are doing it. So I know throughout the course of your thesising, you have several times had to write a sort of abstract or summary of your research. But I think especially towards the end, it is really helpful to consistently be reminding yourself and maybe even revising a little bit a 1 to 3 sentence summary of your research that states what it is you're doing, how you're doing it, and with what evidence. Because that will really help you as in the last minute you are incorporating and flushing out all of this stuff to remember what the beginning, middle, and end, so to speak, of your research is. The what, why, and how. And so that's really important. So if you can just either write it down or think to yourself a very concise summary of your research, that will not only help you when you're going to go to defend it, but also it will really help you as you're finishing to write it to have that tiny little thing in mind as you're working with something whose scope can sometimes be a little bit terrifying, because a scope of a project can be really, really vast, but it will always boil down to that single brief sketch. So if you can articulate that to yourself, it'll be a lot easier to finish up the writing. And finally, I have no idea what number I am on anymore, but I'm going to end with a last piece of advice from our dear friend Lily. She says, there is very seriously nothing to panic about at any point. Not while you write and rewrite, not while you arrange 11th hour meetings with your advisor, not while you defend, and certainly not when this is finally behind you. Everyone is rooting for you. And I have to say, I completely agree. I know it's tough, and I know it feels insurmountable, but not only will you do it, it'll be great, and then it'll be done, and that's that. So, I hope that these little nuggets of advice have been helpful in any way, and I will see you on Friday.